Hey, I want to thank you for watching my video today. Today, I want to continue our series in Matthew chapter 6 of the Sermon on the Mount, but I want to go in a little bit of a different bent on it today because I want to talk about the tragedy that happened last week. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to put a video out last week. I really wanted to, but time constraints and schedules didn't allow me to. But I want to talk about it today. A very tragic situation happened last Wednesday when Charlie Kirk lost his life to an assassin. It's a sad moment for anyone to lose their life. It is a sad moment for any father or any husband or any person living and breathing to lose their life in such a short and violent way. And we should be saddened by that. Now, the question I want to look at this morning is, why is there so much violence in the world today? Why is there so much darkness in the world today? And we're going to look at those two things, or two reasons why we have darkness and violence in our world today. And the first one I want to look at is that we have an issue with our rhetoric. Rhetoric is a device used in debate, but our rhetoric today has become very dark and very damaging. We tend to want to label people instead of listen to people. Here's the problem when we begin to label people. When we label someone, and I'm not going to say any of the labels because I don't want to glorify those labels, but when we label people, we dehumanize that individual. We devalue their life. We devalue their importance. We devalue their message. We don't look at that individual as a father and as a husband or as a person of faith. We look at that person as someone who is against you. We devalue them, and by devaluing them, not only do we devalue their life, but we devalue what they are saying. And so we are unwilling and unable to hear what they want to share with us. And we should, especially as believers in Jesus Christ, we should always be willing to listen to everyone who speaks to us. We don't have to agree with it. Unity is not by agreeing totally. Unity is by coming together in love. So we should stop our rhetoric. Stop labeling people. On both sides, stop labeling people, because when we label someone, we devalue them, we dehumanize them, and we make them someone that is okay to get rid of through violence. It's happened throughout our history, and it's time for that to stop. And that stops by loving like Christ loved. Jesus says, love your enemies and pray for those who persecute you, and we need to live that way in our lives. We're not going to agree with everybody, but we can choose to love them. And that's what I hope that we will do as I share these words with you today, is to understand that when we devalue someone, we make their message of no importance. And when we are unwilling to hear other people's thoughts, we find ourselves in deeper and deeper darkness because we can't see anything but our own point of view. Which leads me to that second thing I want to talk to you about today, and that is the other reason why we have violence in the world today is because we live in a world full of darkness. Here's what Jesus said. Now again, Jesus is saying this in his talk about giving money, but the principles here, I think, translate into what I'm talking about today. Jesus says in verse 22 of Matthew 6, the eye is the lamp of the body. If your eye is healthy, the whole body will be full of light. Your eye is healthy when you're willing to listen to other points of view, when you're willing to listen to what God has to say, when you're willing to listen and to love on those who are around you. When your eye is healthy, your whole body is full of light. But if your eye is bad, your whole body will be full of darkness. So if the light within you is darkness, how deep is that darkness? When we devalue the arguments of other people, when we label those arguments, when we label those individuals, we cut off debate. And when we cut off debate, we sink ourselves deeper in the darkness. Here's a reality about our eyes. We have an inept ability to adapt to darkness. Now, not like some animals, but you can see fairly clearly in the darkness, and we're comfortable in the darkness. Not only do our eyes do that, but our souls can do that. Our minds can do that. But when we live in darkness, we don't see clearly. We think we do, but we don't. Recently, I got a new vehicle, and I went to get it washed and to clean it up, and after I got it washed, I was vacuuming it out. Now, it was a sunny day, so I had my sunglasses on, and I started vacuuming out the vehicle, and I worked for about 15, 20 minutes just vacuuming everything out and thought I had it spotless. Next morning, I get up to finish the cleaning of my car in my driveway, and I'm wearing not my sunglasses, but my regular glasses. I have full light now. The sunglasses blocked out the light. And I realized that what I thought was clean the night before in my sunglasses wasn't clean at all. And so I had to re-vacuum most of what I'd already done because I couldn't see clearly. And that's what happens when we cut off debate. That's what happens when we cut off ourselves from the light of God, the light of God's word. We live in a darkness thinking that we are living in light, thinking that we can see clearly when we cannot. So we need to take off the sunglasses. We need to take off the labels and begin to live in the light. And then finally, when we do that, it's very painful. Any of us who remember either are in school now or were in school at some point in our lives have been in a situation where you're in a classroom and a movie's being shown, and then all of a sudden the teacher or another student flips the lights back on at the end of that. And we all groan, oh, because of the pain and the discomfort of going from darkness to light. And here's the reality. Yes, it is painful. Yes, it is uncomfortable to open our eyes to the light of the Gospels, to open the light to the light of Jesus Christ, to open to the light of those who proclaim the good news of Jesus Christ. But even though it is painful for a moment, that pain is fleeting in comparison to the overwhelming joy and peace and hope and love that comes in embracing the light of Jesus Christ. Stop living in the darkness. Stop labeling those you disagree with. Have true debate. Have true love for all, regardless of what their viewpoints are. And find the hope, the peace, the joy, and the love that comes in knowing Jesus Christ. If you watch this video to the end, I encourage you to hit the like and subscribe buttons and to follow our different pages, because through doing that, you help us to spread these messages to those who need them. Thank you.